Atom Egoyan, welcome
Hi.
to VIFF 2015.
Yeah.
And this is home turf for you.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, I'm from Vancouver Island, Victoria, but I have been to Vancouver Film Festival since forever. So it's and I've never been here at the end of September. At least I was in Victoria for a couple of days, and the weather's just so beautiful. Like it's like just the best. So it's great.
Yeah, it seems unseasonably warm today, at least.
Yeah. But in Victoria it was just really crisp, and it was like really great, to be on the beach on a beautiful day, and it was just like crisp, and you could feel fall changing. But it was lovely. I love this part of the country. It's like.
Does it feel like coming home when you come to Vancouver?
Vancouver was always like the big city for me, and it was the place where I'd come across to see like all the bands at the PNE, and I have really strong memories of, kind of crazy stories of seeing these, So I have a really strong relationship to it as a place that I used to visit, and at the time when I started wanting to make films, there wasn't really a film industry here, and it's of course now it's crazy, but so Toronto was the obvious place to go to, but that's really changed. But I think the island is really different from Vancouver. Like it feels like a totally different culture, But I love the interior as well. That's where I said Sweet Hereafter was in Spence's Bridge, and that area between Kamloops and Spence's Bridge, and kind of that vaguely desert-like terrain I really love, and the Highway 8 between Merritt and Spence. I love that part of the province a lot.
And the scenery really adds to the Sweet Hereafter. It's almost
it's a huge part, yeah. And it's interesting too because we really looked. Because the original idea was to set it like closer to the Rockies, but those mountains are just like too monumental and they don't really fit in the frame. But these very low level kind of like mountain ranges that you find on that strip between Merritt and Spence's Bridge is just like so beautiful. And it was like a really great year that year because the snow was just so pristine, and yeah, I have really strong memories of that shoot. And it was. I just ran, I remember I wasn't even location scouting, we were just traveling around with my family and kind of, happened on this place. It was just, everything sort of fell into place.
Yeah, it's interesting that you enjoy the shoot. Not all filmmakers seem to do that. Alfred Hitchcock once famously said that he hates shooting because he's already relived the film several times over in his head before production starts, and then production is just filling in the blanks.
Except I know he said that, but really that belies the incredible moment you get to see what the actors do. I mean, that to me is the magic of filmmaking, and so. Yes, you can storyboard, and certainly Hitchcock had the whole film pre-visualized, but I don't know if you could have imagined what Jimmy Stewart does in Vertigo. I don't know if you would have been able to. That to me would just be thrilling to be at that moment, and seeing these amazing performances come to life. But he also said famously that that actors were like cattle, but it doesn't make any sense given the level of work he's getting. I think sometimes, but I would imagine that in a heavy special effects movie, like shooting would be a real drag, right? Because everything is just delayed until everything is added later on.
Yeah. So what about post-production, that phase? How do you enjoy editing?
Well,
it
depends on the film.
Together?
Like there are films I made where the post-production is like another draft, where you completely rearrange. You were talking about the Sweet Hereafter. I mean, that was completely rearranged in post, and a lot of the films. I'm working with a non-linear structure, like films like The Captive and Exotica and Felicia's Journey. These are films that are rewritten in a way during post. But then a film like Remember, which I'm showing this year at the festival, didn't change much during post. It's a linear story, and it was designed to look a certain way, and so it actually. But what was really exciting with that film was just the sound design. The sound design is very rich and really situates you inside of Zev, the main character's head.
Yeah, that's great. So speaking of Remember there, because this time you worked with another person's script, usually you write your own scripts. What was that like? How did that collaboration come about? And how
it came about because I get sent a lot of scripts, and this one just, it's such an original idea, and I'd never encountered a character like that before. and I was really excited about it. And I imagined Christopher Plummer, in this role. I'd worked with him before, and I knew his extraordinary talent, and I thought that this would be an incredible fit. So sometimes you do read a screenplay that just you've never heard of the writer, and it comes out of nowhere, and it's unique. I don't think there's ever been a character like this.
Right. And did it feel liberating somehow to only be the director, or?
Well, after the last film, The Captive, which I spent so much time on and really years and years working on that, so it was really good to do something where I was just organizing the frame and the performance, and trying to find a way of placing the camera that would give me access to this performance, and it was liberating in that way. I mean, because it has all the complexity psychologically of one of my other films, but it's told in a very simple manner. You're not really aware of how complex it is until the very end.
Right. And you mentioned Christopher Plummer, obviously a fantastic actor, and also at his age, he's lived long enough to have experienced the time that that his character would have experienced.
Well,
as well.
I mean, he is. Both him and Martin Landau are actually that age, and it gives the film an authenticity. But it's also, when you hire someone like Christopher Plummer, you're also hiring this incredible repertoire of other roles that he's played, and you bring all of that to that screen as well. So there's something very moving about seeing him appear so frail in this movie, even though he's acting that. It feels very immediate, and I think that's one of the things that gives the film its particular power.
Yeah. And so you mentioned he brings other roles that he's played into it, like.
Well, no, I think it's more like the viewer does. The viewer
right.
kind of and but then you forget that, you leave that behind. But it's just maybe I'm saying that also because I have a particular relationship with him. Like I just I've just adored his stage work, and he feels like he has this extraordinary power, resilience to play the moment. And this is a role where he's only playing the present tense. There's no subtext. There's nothing else he could be thinking about, because the character's in the state of dementia. He's a survivor of the war, and his family's been completely destroyed. He's out on this revenge mission to find the person responsible for killing his family, but he has early stages dementia, so he keeps forgetting why. He keeps forgetting why he's on this journey, what he's looking for, why he has a gun in his hand, what he's doing in this hotel room. So Christopher is really doing this incredible job of playing these moments throughout the film as though they just are happening to him. And he does this in a way that's very compelling, and you can't take your eyes off of him. So there's something really unique about that.
Do you think that, you mentioned his stage experience, does that come from there, perhaps, the immediacy of being in the moment?
I think so. I think that, this ability to prepare and to execute that moment, and, he's technically so proficient. He knows how every muscle on his, face works, and exactly what it's going to portray.
Right. And you mentioned the theme of the movie briefly there, and that it's about World War II experiences, and how history casts a shadow into the present, which is the theme that you've explored before in Ararat, for example, with the Armenian genocide. Do you feel that we're too connected to history, or perhaps not connected enough?
Well, I think when you have a situation where you have someone running for political position federally who's never heard of Auschwitz, which we just had an NDP candidate, has 3 university degrees, I think that's troubling. I think it's troubling that you can have something on the scale of a genocide that just becomes somehow forgotten. And because the whole study of history is so that we learn to learn, and when people don't, that has very ominous results. So I love dealing with notions of history in film, not just at a political level, but also family history, personal history. The past is something that sort of begins to impact our actions in really interesting ways, and all the films I think are exploring that. the things that you can control of your past, the things that come up unexpectedly, the negotiation with this tapestry of your own experience.
So perhaps the title "Remember" is kind of encouraging people to remember.
Well, it's an imperative, like
yeah,
it's an order, but it's also something that can have a more nostalgic tone at the same time.
Yeah. Okay, I think we're running low on time here, but I wanted to just ask you about, you mentioned before Vancouver being a filmmaking city now, also new technology has really democratized filmmaking. A lot of new filmmakers coming out there who did not have access to this medium before. What would be your advice to all these new filmmakers as they take their first steps?
Learn about storytelling. Read great plays. I think, yes, it's true that there are people who have a really strong visual sensibility, but the actual, process, the act of storytelling is an ancient tradition, and the more you can acquaint yourself with what's gone on before, the stronger that makes your stories. So there's an excitement to rush to the screen and make images, but the more you can infuse that with a real sense of the tradition of storytelling, the better the films will be.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.